everyone, good day. For today's video, we will be discussing about intellectual property rights on the development and use of digital materials. But before we start, let me first introduce to you my groupmates. I am working with Emily R. Gaco, Rufa May Awas, Shalami Diniaga, Rochelle M. Cabasag, Chien Tenebroso, Annalyn Barbadillo, May Anis Calicas, Rendiza Altamara, and yours truly. And we are from Cebu Technological University Bareilly campus. Laws governing property rights are significant. Without insurance of thoughts, people won't have the option to appreciate the full advantage of their creations, and they will not be made up for their manifestations. So what is intellectual property rights? Intellectual property rights are the rights given to persons over the creations of their minds. They usually give the creator an exclusive right over the use of his creation. Intellectual property protection is important in fostering innovation. Without protections of ideas, individuals will not be able to enjoy the full benefit of their inventions, and they will not be compensated for their creations. This encourages innovations without the fear that a competitor will steal the ideas and or take the credit for it. While, according to World Intellectual Property Organization, or WPO, intellectual property refers to the creation of the mind such as invention, literary and artistic works, designs and symbols, names and images used in commerce. Internationally, these intellectual properties are protected by the World Intellectual Property Organization, to which the Philippines is one of the 191 member states. In the Philippines, Republic Act 8293 was passed on June 6, 1997, which leads to the creations of the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines, which administers and implements state policies in relation to Intellectual Property Act.
In today's digital world, it's easier than ever to copy, paste, mash up, remix, download, and publish content. People's writing, artwork, videos, and images can be inspiring, but they're also easy to take without thinking twice. When people treat the internet like a free for all, legal and ethical situations can arise. That's why it is important to know about copyright and fair use. It would help you give and receive credit where credit is due. So what is a copyright? Copyright law protects your control over the creative work you make. It requires people to get your permission before they copy, rework, or share what you make. Most things that you find, download, and copy from the internet are copyrighted. That doesn't mean that everything online is on lockdown and can't be used. It can, as long as you check who owns it, get permission to use it, give credit to the creator, buy if it is necessary, and use it responsibly. Then you're not stealing. Now, there are times when you can use a small part of someone else's copyrighted work without permission or paying a fee. This is called fair use. Fair use only applies when using content in certain instances: schoolwork and education, news reporting, criticizing or commenting, and comedy or parody. Specific guidelines, what we call the 4 points of fair use, must also be followed. First, you can only use a small amount of the work. Second, you have to add new meaning to the work to make it original. Third, you need to rework it and use it in a totally different way. And finally, you have to use it for non-profit purposes. In other words, you can't make money off of your new creation. No matter what, it's a good idea to give credit to the creator of the work you use. It's just a sign of respect. So, what should you do if you find something online and you want to use? As a rule of thumb, check who owns it, get permission to use it, give credit to the creator, buy if it is necessary, and use it responsibly, which means you're doing the right thing. You're a creator, innovator, and inspiring. Think twice about your responsibilities in our online culture and then pay it forward. Now, looking back to what is copyright, as provided by Republic Act number 8293, Works are original intellectual creations in the literary and artistic domain protected from the moment of their creation, which includes the following: books, pamphlets, articles, and other writings, periodicals and newspapers, lectures, sermons, addresses, dissertations, letters, dramatic or dramatico to musical compositions, choreographic works or entertainment and dumb shows, and lastly, musical compositions with or without words.
Copyright is a type of intellectual property that gives its owner the exclusive right to copy and distribute a creative work, usually for a limited time. The creative work may be in a literary, artistic, educational, or musical form. The framers believed that securing for limited times the exclusive rights of authors to their writings would promote the progress of science and useful arts. The primary purpose of copyright is to induce and reward authors through the provision of property rights to create new works and to make those works available to the public to enjoy. The theory is that by granting certain exclusive rights to creators that allow these creators to protect their creative works against theft, creators receive the benefit of the creative works that might not otherwise be created or disseminated. Copyrights protect rights of authors of novels, musical works, films, computer programs, and etc. Works are original intellectual creators in the literary and artistic domain protected from the moment of their creation, which includes the following: original ornamental designs or models for articles of manufacture, whether or not registrable as an industrial design, and other works of applied art. Illustrations, maps, plans, sketches, charts, and other three-dimensional works relative to geography, topography, architecture, or science. Drawings or plastic works of a scientific or technical character. Photographic works including works produced by a process analogous to photography, lantern slides.
Another intellectual creations are the audiovisual works and cinematographic works and works produced by a process analogous to cinematography or any process for making an audiovisual recording. Audiovisual work is a work that consists of a series of related images that are intended to be shown by the use of a machine or device, together with accompanying sounds if any. The next one is the pictorial illustrations and advertisements. An example of an illustration is a pictured accompanying magazine article. An example of an illustration is the description of deforestation used to show the harm that humans are having in the environment. That which illustrates a comparison or example intended to make clear or appreciable or to remove obscurity. There are four kinds of advertisement. There are print advertising, broadcast advertising, outdoor advertising, and digital advertising. So an example of print advertising is newspaper, magazines, and brochure advertisements. The next one is in television and radio advertisements. Outdoor advertising, hoardings, banners, flags, wraps, and etc. While the digital advertising, it is an advertisement displayed over the internet and digital devices. The next one is the computer programs. Computers, there are several programming languages used to program a computer. Example of computer programs are Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint,
The internet is an increasingly important part of everyday life for people around the world. The internet is a global network of billions of computers and other electronic devices. With the internet, it's possible to access almost any information, communicate with anyone else in the world, and do much more. Does internet is a good use all the time? No. We should also careful in using internet because there are many cases nowadays in using the internet abusively, wherein copy and paste is very accessible commands in our computer toolbars. We should not try to violate the copyright laws, otherwise we could be accused of copyright infringement. So, what is copyright infringement, by the way? It is the use of works of others without the permission of the owner. Infringement occurs when a person copies, distributes, performs, and displays the protected or copyrighted work, or in the television conducts a secondary transmission of a cable program without the permission or consent of
Is a collection of rights that automatically vest to someone who creates an original work of authorship. This right includes the right to reproduce work, to prepare derivative works, to distribute copies, and to perform and display the work publicly. It is important of its role to protect the interests of the creator while allowing to gain access to it legally. It designed to make sure that creators receive appropriate rights for their own ideas. Proper citations should be used when including them in our output. What are the proper citations? We must cite a reference when we discuss, summarize, or paraphrase the ideas of an author. So, here are the guidelines on an online use of copyright materials according to Smaldino, Loeffler, and Russell 2012. So first, contrary to popular opinion, all material on the internet is copyrighted unless stated otherwise. It is copyrighted even if it does not display the copyright symbol. Second, an email is an original work fixed in a tangible medium of expression that is covered by copyright. Hence, it is recommended that you should not forward any email without permission, in consideration of both copyright and privately. Third, downloading an article from a newspaper website, making copies, and distributing them to your students prior to a class discussion on the topic is permissible following the current photocopying guidelines, which permits making multiple copies for classroom use. The exception would be individually bylined, copyrighted articles or articles from a source specifically designed for the educational market where such articles cannot be copied legally for class distributed.
You can't post students' essay, poems, or other works on the school website unless you have permission of the students and their parents or guardians. Lastly, educators should treat copyrighted materials from the internet the same way they do to print formats. The best guideline is to always obtain permission. When in doubt, ask. Another violation on intellectual property is plagiarism. Although plagiarism and copyright infringement are related ideas, these two are different. Plagiarism, according to Plagiarism Organization, is an act of fraud. It involves both stealing someone else's work and lying about it afterward. Plagiarism Organization further elaborates the following as plagiarism. First, turning in someone else's work as your own. Second, copying words or ideas from someone else without giving credit. Third, failing to put a quotation in quotation marks.
Copyright in Merriam-Webster. Copyright basically means the exclusive legal right to reproduce, publish, sell, or distribute the matter and form of something such as literacy, musical, or artistic works. So what is the purpose
of copyright, the purpose is to give the artists or creators the incentive for sharing the original works. They can actually benefit economically from their copyrighted materials and receive credits or recognition. Work with copyright protection includes literature, music, sound, recording, audiovisuals, arts. However, there are some people who take another person's property without permission or legal right, and that's how copyright infringement will enter. So what is copyright infringement? Copyright infringement pertains to the violation of a person's intellectual property. It is probably like what I said, those are people who steal someone's original masterpiece, especially if the one who stole origin the benefits and not the creator itself. One example of copyright infringement is using a certain music in your video without obtaining the permission to use by the owner. How to avoid copyright infringement? Assume there is always copyright. It is a lot safer to assume that every created work are protected under copyright laws, even if you cannot find a detailed statement that shows whether it is public or not. Read and research before using an intellectual property that is not yours for using a creative work that you did not own. Some creators are willing to share their work at a cost. What is plagiarism? So plagiarism involves stealing else original and unique creation and not giving proper credit to the originator. Plagiarism is copying another works or borrowing someone else's original idea. Copying and borrowing can disguise the following: to steal and pass off the ideas or words of another as one's own, to use another production without crediting the source, to commit literacy theft, to present as a new and original an idea or product derived from an existing source. Plagiarism is an act of fraud. It involves both stealing someone else's work and lying about it afterward. Can words and ideas be stolen? The answer is a big yes. Expression of original ideas is considered intellectual property and is protected by copyright laws, just like original inventions. Almost all forms of expression fall under copyright protection as long as they are recorded in some way, such as book or a computer file. When does a person commit plagiarism? Here's are the answer. A person commits plagiarism by turning in someone else's work as his own, copying word or ideas from someone else without giving credit, failing to put quotation marks in a quotation, giving incorrect information about the source of a quotation, changing words but copying the sentence structure of a source without giving credit, copying so many words or ideas from a source that it makes up the majority of your work whether you give credit or not. Images, videos, and music. The following are courted plagiarism: copying media, especially images, from other websites to the paste them your own papers or websites, making a video using footage from others' videos, or using copyrighted music as a part of the soundtrack, performing another person's copyrighted music, example, playing cover, composing a piece of music that borrows heavily from another composition. There are two ways to avoid plagiarism. First, avoid everything that was discussed earlier. Yes, avoid them, period. And second, confirm the work's usage, permissions, and cite them properly. There are 3 writing strategies to avoid plagiarism. These are paraphrasing, summarizing, and quoting.
Good day everyone, I'm Jens Kalikas from Bed 2B, and for today I want to discuss about plagiarism and copyright infringement. In other words, plagiarism refers to copying the work of another and claiming it as one's ideas or without proper attribution, while copyright infringement in copying one's work without obtaining permission. In this sentence, copyright infringement is a violation of the right of the copyright holder, while plagiarism is a violation of the right of the author. We have to note that not all authors are copyright holders. There are cases when the publisher owns the copyright. In addition, copyright infringement is a legal violation, while plagiarism is an ethical violation. Plagiarism is unethical for 3 reasons. Firstly, it is unethical because it is a form of theft by taking the ideas, words of others and pretending they are your own. You are selling someone else's intellectual property. So, in other words, plagiarism means using someone else's words or ideas without properly crediting the original author. Some common examples of plagiarism include submitting a false text that is not your own, copying elements of different sources and pasting them into a new document. Next is copyright infringement means that the rights afforded to the copyright holder, such as the exclusive use of a work for a set period of time, are being breached by a third party. So copyright infringement is that there are typical example of copyright infringement. So to determine if an alleged infringement is a fair use, courts consider number 1, the purpose and character used, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole, the effect of the use upon the potential market for or value of. So a typical example of copyright infringement is the use of music in your videos, but it is a copyright violation to download a movie, TV show, music, software, or ebook from a website that is not owned by the creator.